Hello and welcome to a special Heroes World review. I'm Andre from Heroes World, and we are talking Disney Plus's brand new series, Star Wars Andor. And since we're talking Star Wars, I have rounded up my Star Wars crew. Say hello, everybody.
Hello.
Howdy.
And as you can see, we are down one member, and she's teaching the Padawans, so she cannot make it, but she's here in spirit. So, Megan, maybe we'll get you in for one of these. Scott, Jesse, how are you guys doing this fine day?
Really good.
Yeah.
Really good, really good.
I don't think that's the direct quote Megan used, but we won't put that on the internet.
Definitely can't put that out there, especially without her permission.
Yeah. Nope.
So, we got blessed with three episodes of Cassian Andor. I wasn't expecting 3 of those. So we are going to dive right in. We are going to talk about what we liked in the show, what we didn't like in the show, and possibly something that maybe we would have done a little bit differently in the show. So we are going to be talking about the show probably a little bit in depth, so there are going to be some spoilers and stuff. So if you haven't watched it, you don't want to hear the nitty-gritty, please check out and come back after you've watched it, and if you're interested in what we had to say. But without further ado, we are going to jump in, and we are going to talk about, first, what we liked about Andor. Scott, is it okay if I start with you?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So we already put the spoiler alert out there, right? Like,
right on.
Spoiler alert. All right. I think my favorite thing was literally the first 5 minutes of episode 1. It kind of jumps right in. It's a little dark. It's a little gritty. Full disclosure, I guess for whenever we talk about these things, I think I always say this, but I'm like a straight up, 4, 5, 6 guy, right? Like, Andre, you're like neck deep into the lore of stuff, and I've dabbled, and you've made me dabble, which is cool. But like, I'm so anytime we venture into these new things, it's almost brand new to me. So I know there's a little lore here, but I'm not that familiar with it. So to see this character kind of walk in, and again, don't know the setting all that well, but it's dark. It's raining. It's he's looking for somebody. He stirs up a little trouble. But like I guess my favorite part of that is like we don't see a lot of the quote unquote good guys in Star Wars. They really kind of go off the deep end. I think the closest we have is like Han shot first, right? The hashtag, like who, but when have you ever seen anybody like shoot first and ask questions later, right? And we dive in, and I think all the Rebel characters are and this will resonate with you, Andre. It's like first edition, second edition D&D. They're all paladins, right? They're all like lawful good. They never do that stuff. Yep. And here we have someone make a critical decision, gets in this, and then just like pulls the trigger and like essentially off someone that is sort of kind of like whoa. So to me, that took a little turn from most of the general. Luke's a good guy. He's kind of a goody, right? Like, and I like that about him. But this is a little bit of a different shade, a little bit darker. So right off the bat, I knew this was going to be a little different, and I loved it. So that was like my favorite, I think, probably those first 5 minutes.
Perfect. To set the tone for you.
Yeah.
All right, Jesse, what did you like about the show?
I really liked how it was Star Wars, but it wasn't Star Wars. We didn't see any of the Star Wars tropes. We didn't see a C-3PO running by. We didn't see a lightsaber at all. We didn't see a TIE. We didn't see anything Star Wars except the title sequence that said Star Wars Andor. Yeah. Everything was new. Everything was fresh. Everything was not a repeat. It's like we're getting to know these characters for the first time, but we're not. Cassian was in Rogue One.
Yep.
And when he was in that, I didn't like him as a character at all.
I agree.
Like, I thought he was flat. I thought he was boring. I thought he was just a straight shooter. He's like, this is what we got to do. That's all we're doing. But in this, we can see him develop a little bit more, right? And I like how it's a spy sort of thriller mixed in the Star Wars universe.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. So you guys have nailed a couple of things right there. Both things I actually did like. I definitely found Cassian Andor, played by Diego Luna, a better character right here. Like you kind of see his motivations a little bit, especially through all 3 episodes. I got to say, so my favorite thing, I'm going to go with my very, very favorite thing from the first 3 episodes, and that was the performance of, I'm going to say his name wrong, so I do apologize, Stellan Skarsgard. I thought he was fantastic. I think, especially in this role, like I just thought he was perfect. He had the presence. He was playing different. I just loved everything, even from his walk, his little walking stick. I thought that was really cool. So that was probably my favorite part of it. But I gotta say, I really, really like droids, and that little red astromech, or not astromech droid, just, I don't know, like rolling around, pour out a battery droid. I'm like, oh man, instant soft spot for that droid. So let's talk about, let's explore a little bit more about what we liked. Scott, you said you liked the setting. It was dark, it was rainy, it was gritty.
Yeah.
What would you compare it to, like other movies or shows and stuff that you did? Did it spark anything and bring anything else to mind?
I mean, this is going way back and totally different genre, but at least that beginning scene, not the rest of it, not when they get on what is it? Ferrix? Ferrix is the planet, right? Yeah. But like that first part had like a lot of little Crow vibes, right? Like it's dark, it's rainy, there's a fight, like there's death, so it had that little, like you knew something off was going to happen. So I and again, you don't really see that, like you said, that spy genre, dark, gritty stuff in any of the classic Star Wars stuff. I can't think of another scene where, at least in sort of the general stuff, I've seen that. But the other thing I really liked about this, and again, I don't know if this was intentional, probably a little bit, right? But like, I feel like most of the stuff when they release these 1, 2, 3 episodes, even going into like other stuff Disney Plus does in the MCU and stuff, they're always a little disjointed. And I really felt like these 3 episodes had a very specific arc. Maybe it's the Ferrix arc, because I have a feeling they might be leaving that planet and moving somewhere else. And there's more to come, right? Like they didn't like totally flesh out all these characters, but there was sort of like a beginning, middle, end in these 3 episodes that sort of closed at least a loop on that planet, or at least an initial sort of arc, which I really liked. I got a story out of it. I sat down and I think a lot of people probably binged all 3, right? Like you binged all 3, you feel like you got like a mini movie. You got a beginning, middle, end, and then there's going to be episode 4, episode 5. I don't know how many total there are, but I really liked that I got something that I could digest and finish and enjoy.
Nice. So Jesse, you mentioned that you felt like you got Star Wars without getting Star Wars, like a lot looked new and fresh. So I'm going to pose a question for you, as I know, like myself, you're a gamer. Didn't this give you a lot of vibes from Jedi Fallen Order?
I knew you were going to say that, and I had to pause the show and search where Jedi Fallen Order starts off, because I thought it was the same planet, but I believe they're both on the Outer Rim, right? It isn't the same planet. You asked Scott what he would compare it to, and I think it would be good to compare it to Blade Runner, the new Blade Runner, 2049. Just the way everything's so dirty and grimy, but there's glimmers of sparkles. Even Cass's gun looked like the Blade Runner gun. I don't know if you guys... it was. I really enjoyed it for the first few episodes. Sorry, go ahead.
So maybe you enjoyed it because it was making you think of other sci-fi and not Star Wars, then.
Maybe.
A little bit.
Maybe. I did really like that they didn't start on Tatooine. No, seriously, every Star Wars
Mos
seems like it
Eisley
starts
forever, baby.
Yeah.
like as soon as I saw
For
the
sure.
forest and the jungle, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
this is a change.
This is something
It's not
different.
a desert.
Well, now that you say that, let's talk about like the first and foremost thing that anybody's going to notice about this show is that it is gorgeous. Like, I think this show looked better than The Mandalorian. Like, in that first couple episodes of Mandalorian looked great, but I think this, you could really tell that this was on locations, on set. It was something about like the lighting and just there was a depth to the sets and the locations that I hadn't felt with a lot of the others. The other shows almost seem like it's like a 2D thing. This seemed, for lack of a better term, three-dimensional. All I can say is depth. Did you guys feel the same?
Oh yeah,
yeah,
super immersive.
Yeah,
and I feel like this Andor, you could change the name, you could change the characters, and it could drop into any sci-fi show, like you said earlier. Like it could very well be a Blade Runner.
Yeah, but okay.
Prequel.
So I'm glad you brought that up. So let's make sure we hold on to that thought, because I want to bring that up later. So we've talked about what we've liked, and obviously I'm glad we didn't go too spoilerific into it. So let's dive into what we didn't like, and it could be anything from all 3 episodes because we're going to cover all of them. So since I put Scott on the hot seat first, Jesse, I'm going to go for you for what you didn't like.
I got 2.
Perfect.
I didn't like the space police. What were they called?
Oh, the corporate guards or whatever.
Yeah, I thought they were just too dumb and too like. It reminds me a lot of the MCU's Nova Corp. Like they're dumb cops, and like there was that one guy working with the I forget his name, the main character, and he seemed like John C. Reilly. Like, give me the rifle. I'll shoot him when he comes.
Yeah.
It seemed like they were just not able to do their jobs.
Yeah, they seemed like caricatures.
Yeah, the only competent one was the main guy, the main villain. Even the sheriff or commissioner or whatever is like, they died, whatever. Right? It's like, that's a murder. Those are your officers. You got to go do something.
Yeah.
And the second thing I didn't like was the whole Cash shooting the guy. I don't think he should have done that. Because he's a new character. He's not really a criminal yet. He's not really a spy. He's not really into the espionage. When he first knocked the guy back, that was an accident. That could have gone down as manslaughter. But as soon as he shot the guy in the face, that's murder. And it doesn't seem like his character would have jumped to murder that quickly. He was looking for his sister. These cops harassed him. He accidentally killed one. He could have took the other cop's idea and just been like, okay, I'm leaving. I didn't like that. I thought it was kind of forced. I thought he should have ran away and not shot the guy in the face. I think it's too soon for him to jump to those actions right away.
Okay. That's good. That's good. That's a good assessment there. All right, Scott, what about you? What did you not like?
You're going to kill me, Andre. I'm sorry. I know you love the droids. I was like, we got another cute little droid in another Star Wars show, right? And I can't think of one that doesn't have it. And I know that's the thing. It's the droids. Like I get it. I could have done it. It was done okay, but I could have done without it. Like I said, they're just always around it, and maybe that's the thing, right? Maybe it's like instead of dogs, right? They have these little astromechs, right? Like even you get into like the Visions, right? The Star Wars Visions. He had a droid, right? Luke has a droid. So I was a little disappointed that you just fell right back onto that. That said, that's part of the genre. So I mean, if you really hate droids, like why are you watching Star Wars to begin with? So I was kind of like, thought we could get away with it for a little bit. And then there's one thing that I both loved and kind of hated all at the same time, just more selfishly. When they were on Canary, right? That's the planet.
Yep.
You got the you got all the kids and adults, and I didn't really see any adults, they're mostly kids, but like that young population. And like it was kind of cool because they didn't do any subtitles unless I played it wrong. So you kind of had to interpret what they, from their actions, from their body language, what they were saying and what they were doing. That was kind of cool, but also I kind of wanted to know what they were saying. So it was like, I literally flipped through the subtitles. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
can I get
I did
it? Can I
the
get it? I'm
same.
like, I can't get it. And I think, obviously that's intentional because I think it's are they Outer Rim? Or it's like just some crazy language that
Yeah.
nobody knows. It's not based on anything. So like the Imperial people wouldn't know it. The Rebel. So I understand. I think that's intentional. But there was part of me that was like, I want to know what they're saying. So I didn't hate it. I just was like, I want to know. But you could interpret it a little bit, which was part of the coolness of that whole scene.
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna bring what I didn't like for it, and I apologize because I'm probably gonna go on for a little bit and stuff. But you both kind of dwelled on it on different aspects. So Jesse, you said that it didn't feel like a Star Wars show, and you could have dropped this into any sci-fi or any type of genre type of show, spy show. And I think that is my biggest gripe of it is that this just looked like I could have been watching anything from The Expanse to a brand new, sci-fi show and stuff. And while it looked great, if this was a new sci-fi IP or dystopian future IP or whatever, I would have watched it. Look great, and it's got all of the regular kind of tropes and hooks. Jesse, you mentioned the incompetent police force and stuff like that. Again, very, very tropey. Oh, of course you're going to get into a fight with these guys in a bar and they're off duty. Again, super baseline trope. For this to be the catalyst for this action, I thought it was just too kind of shallow. And then onto what Scott said, it's like, having the droid was almost the only thing that made this feel, oh, I'm in the Star Wars universe. So now that doesn't mean that Star Wars has to include stormtroopers and lightsabers and the Empire and stuff like that. However, there's a ton of stuff that makes Star Wars. And I really feel that Disney has not been utilizing the most key aspect of that. And that's the wonderful score of John Williams and 6 fabulous movies, or not, sorry, 60. I think he scored all 9, but and I'm not saying he had to score it, but if they had at least put, whoever composed the music said, hey, we want you to put in a couple of these, keynotes and beats so people can remember that they're watching a Star Wars show. I think if somebody cuts this show and edits it and puts Star Wars, soundtrack in the background, I think it'll instantly elevate it. The other thing that really kind of set me off, and again, Rogue One did the exact same thing. And again, I'm like Scott. I'm a Star Wars purist. Love the originals. Love the prequels. Didn't watch the sequels. But here's the thing. If you're gonna emulate something and you're gonna say, hey, we are gonna make Star Wars movies, or we're gonna make a particular type of genre like a James Bond film or whatever, you've got to look at what you did before. What makes it its thing? Rogue One started this trend of putting the name of the planet on screen. It said the name of the planet into 6 Star Wars movies by George Lucas. Never once did they ever put, because you know what? It doesn't matter if we're never going back there.
Yeah.
Have the characters say the name of the planet. That's it. Or reference, say, oh, that's a corporal planet, or that's in the Outer Rim, or whatever. It's inconsequential to the overall play of it. And again, that's something that every other sci-fi show movie did. They would name the planet, name the system, or whatever, because they didn't have necessarily that richness or depth that I think Star Wars kind of started with, right? So they're trying to create that. the other thing that I really disliked about this show was the flashbacks. I felt they totally slowed the pace down of it, and the fact that we couldn't understand what they were saying, and that he got picked off the planet in a flashback so soon. I'm like, those were like, he could have just talked to the old lady or whatever, and she could have just said it. Again, watch the first 6 Star Wars movies. Not a single flashback to be seen anywhere. Flashbacks are a product of Disney. Episode 7 has the flashbacks at it. Rogue One has flashbacks in it. Solo has again, they don't exist. And I really feel it's a disservice to the type of Star Wars storytelling by even putting them in, because Star Wars, they've always, when we watch the original movies, again, they would say something. Oh, I ran the Kessel Run in this amount of time. They didn't flash back and
we didn't need the Kessel Run. We didn't need to see the Kessel Run.
We didn't need to see that, although they then put it in a movie and stuff like that. But any type of relevant information, they said it, and they just said it, and it was. And you just said, oh, okay, that's in the past or whatever. So it automatically creates this kind of sense that the story's gone on before. There's a before and there will be an after. But, when you're flashing back again, it's like, okay, what do you see? And, I know we're not talking about it, but the flashback fight scene in Obi-Wan with Obi-Wan and Anakin, again, totally out of place. So I really think that the current storytellers that are trying to tell Star Wars stories, they are missing the point by putting flashbacks in and having them play such a prominent part in the storytelling process. Last little gripe about it not feeling like Star Wars. And I know they were cheesy at the time, but again, first 6 movies had those wonderful Lucas swipes. You're going from scene to scene, there's a swipe, or there's a swipe. You're going to go from switching from characters to different things. Why have they not brought that? Because that's, again, a very specific Star Wars type thing. You want to remind me that I'm watching a Star Wars show or movie, something. Do something that, again, feels like Star Wars. Do not do something that other sci-fi shows do, aka, naming the planets. Because it's a Star Wars show. The whole reason that you've called this Star Wars and Andor is because you're bringing the pedigree of Star Wars with it. Fans are supposed to bring their knowledge of Star Wars. You're riding on that name. So don't ride on that name and then change all of those things. But back to Andor, those flashback scenes, I don't want to say they were totally cringe, but I just
when they
seat out of it just took me right out.
When they put the name on there, it always makes me fearful that I'm supposed to know something that I don't know, right? Like so then I like pause and I'm like wikiing stuff. I'm like, should I know this? We're like, Hoth is just Hoth. It's a nice planet. Nobody cares about it. I don't have to know about it. I can watch Empire and feel safe knowing that I'm missing some Easter egg or some detail or some critical. They put the name up there and all of a sudden I'm like, am I supposed to know this planet? Am I supposed to, how does it relate to everything? It almost makes me more nervous. I'm like, just put them on the planet. Like, let it go.
Yeah. Again, the galaxy's huge. We're not supposed to know the planet, and if we do need to say it, again, they say all the information. Like, especially when we got to the corporate planet, the guy's like, "Oh yeah, he says, I can't remember. It's like, oh, we're part of a tri-system or something." Yeah, they said it. That's enough. We don't need to wiki it. It's not real. It's not like they're saying, "Oh, we're in New York, so we're like, oh, okay, that's where it is. I should know that, or know that that's where this landmark is, or whatever, right?" So yeah, I think it's a very interesting choice for them to do it. But I guess they're really leaning in on the Rogue One-ness of this show, and so much so, Jesse, like you said, you didn't think that Andor would have pulled the trigger so fast. And I think
maybe
they wanted him to do that so early, again, to make you think of the first 10 minutes or 20 minutes of Rogue One, where he shoots his buddy in the back. So I guess they're trying to say this guy's always been a shooter. But I agree with you. At this point, when we see him now, he was almost like he's a good guy. He's like, wow, I'm looking for my sister, And then all of a sudden, it's not even a self-defense shot. Like maybe he could have tied the guy up, or maybe he could have pushed him in off the bridge, and he was in the water or something. But yeah, it really felt out of place, almost like they're like, we got to show that this guy's a bad guy. But then when he gets back to his planet, he seems like a grifter. Like he seems shady and I like kind of like a what do you call it? He's kind of like he's stringing his friends along. He's literally shady and stuff like that. He's got all these deals on the fly, owes a lot of people money, but you don't get the impression that he's a stone cold killer about it. So I almost wish they had leaned more into that, so people would be like, "Oh, I better not rat this guy out because he might just kill me if he finds out." You know, like it was. So it was, but because they didn't lean into that, I guess they're going to try and say, oh, he's going to learn that in the rebellion. Because if you guys remember Rogue One, he says he did a lot of bad stuff for the rebellion. I'm like, yeah, but you're not in the rebellion here. You just smoked a dude, like Jesse said, right? So it's just like, it doesn't, the two aren't maybe lining up. Maybe they'll do a better job in the upcoming episodes and showing it. But to me, they wanted to make him start off as a hero. But again, heroes don't shoot people in the face. They should have showed it that it was, he had no other choice. He was going to let the guy go, and the guy tried to stab him with a knife, and he shot him or something. This was literally, yeah, I'm just going to shoot these. And if you're going to do that, dispose of the bodies.
Always bury the bodies.
Leave them on the street, and then just book it. Just run. Like it's just.
If he didn't shoot the one cop in the face, that cop was in the brothel when he was talking about Canary, looking for a sister from Canary, and that would have been head detectives in. Okay, I need to find this guy from Canary, his sister's from, and we wouldn't have to see the whole Lord of the Flies bit, right? With the lost family.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Sure.
Right?
Very, very sure. So
we could cut out that whole flashback if we kept that guy alive.
Yeah. And then it also kind of makes more for the chase thing, because he's like, oh, I want to get this guy because he killed my partner, or even though it was an accident, right? So yeah, anyways, it would be pretty good. But now, hey, we've already talked about a couple of cool things, so let's segue right into the third part. What would we have done differently, or what would we maybe have liked to have seen changed so far? And Jesse, since you were kind of on that track, I'm gonna kick this one to you.
I think we all agree, getting rid of the kids bit. I think that was a little unnecessary. I kind of gauge myself how interested I'm in a show is by how many times I touch my phone and swipe away. I found I was zoning out of the show every time the kids came on. I couldn't understand what they were saying. I didn't know where they were. It's a jungle planet. They're putting stuff on their faces. I have no idea whether they're talking about a swing set or the ship that just fell. Right? I get rid of that, and I would kind of make the 3 episodes into one movie, almost like a television movie. Remember those back in the day where like a TV movie, we're watching the Miami Vice long episode, but it's a movie and you tune in and then it leads into the next season. I would kind of do that. Cut it so it's a 2-hour movie, hour and a half movie. It gets you into the show and goes from there. But I get why they did that. They removed us from Star Wars to establish this character so he can stand on his own feet. And now I think we're going to jump into the Star Wars-esque. We're going to see the Senate from the trailer. We're going to see the Stormtroopers. We're going to see a whole bunch of stuff that's Star Wars-esque. But I think they wanted to keep it more like Rogue One, the first 3 episodes. And I think that's why they released all 3 together to get us involved.
Definitely. And on that note, talking about the 3 episodes, man, thank goodness they put all 3 out. Because if I had just watched this first episode, I wasn't hooked after the first episode. The second episode, I was like, my God, these guys got some balls putting the second episode was slow. It was short, and you didn't know anything more than you knew from the first episode. And then thankfully the third episode ramps everything up and joins it together nicely. But if we had to wait 3 weeks to get to this point, I probably would have been out after the second episode. Like, it's just, it just wasn't coherent. So I 100% agree with you, Jesse. They should have made this like a tight 90-minute, made, special event. Don't call it movie, but just be like, man, I would have even taken, hour and a bit, cut it down, trim it real nice, and put it into play, because there was interesting things, but I think they spent too much of their focus on stuff that is going to be irrelevant. So Scott, I'll kick it over to you. What would you have changed?
Yeah, it's the pacing, right?
Or done differently.
Yeah, it's and it is. It's that flashback that they've done in every, Boba Fett, it really crushes the momentum it gains. And I think if you, I don't know what the time was on all those, but if you strip that out, I bet you'd get 85 minutes of like the beginning, and then Ferrex, and then that final sort of battle. I think that would be good. I don't know. The other thing, I don't know if I'd change it or if it's something I don't like. I don't know how much we're going to see of this deputy, whatever he is. He's sort of the leader, but he's like the second in command of that corporate. I don't know. Were they trying to make him kind of nerdy? Were they trying to make him, and his speech and stuff, that he gave to like all the rough guys, and they were like, yeah, whatever. Like, I don't know. I don't know that they need to do that. I don't know if he becomes a bigger thing or if we're just dropping him off and we're gonna move on to some other bad
that was
guy.
The actor Kyle Soller or something, and his character's name was Cyril or Cyril Khan or Khan or
Karn.
Yeah, but I agree with you. Yeah, it was so cliche. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was just over the top cliche. And again, your commanding officer just gave you an order. Hey, look, these guys they were on duty in a brothel, drinking a banned substance. They picked a fight. We're not going to dig into this. This is going to look bad. And he even says it's going to look bad for the Empire. We don't want the Empire to be thinking there's a lot of crime here. Do not pursue this. And the guy, like, not only does he not pursue it, but he involves all these other people. And then he takes, 2 squads with him, or 12 dudes, and maybe half of them died. So pretty sure that's going to be a bigger report when things
the chief was right.
settle down, right?
The chief was right.
He's like, just leave it be. You should have left it be.
Yeah. So yeah, I think you guys touched on a couple of things. So I'm gonna change. I was gonna talk about that if you guys didn't bring it up. I'm gonna change up what I would have liked to change. I think the whole finding his sister angle. I don't buy that. Not that I don't buy it, because I think it's a very good it's a very good plot device for characters and to show things. However, now that we've seen it, and you're like, hold on a second, bro, you were picked up off this planet when you were maybe 12. You're clearly 20 something now. And if you have not gone back to that planet, you don't know if she's still alive. You don't know what happened. How long did it take you to even convey to the old person that picked you up that you had a sister? Like, how did you? And if you didn't go back right away, and then you just happen to be still looking, and then you get a lead, I think, again, the whole catalyst for the events for him to get there, weak. I would have leaned into Cassian being, even you could even keep it with, like, he's trained by this other person to be self-sufficient and to be like this, I don't want to say like not a hacker, but he goes and strips parts, self-sufficient, just very good at what he can do. And then he gets on the rebels' radar because he's got that rap sheet, and he's like, yeah, hey, this guy, he doesn't play by the rules. He doesn't respect the Empire. He comes from a planet that was authoritarian with the Empire. Yeah, let's just grab him. Because I can't see this finding your sister thing, realistically playing out. So it just seems, again, just out. But I guess that goes along with what we're saying. Get rid of all that background flashback stuff, and you could have, brought spent a little bit more time on other parts of the story. Again, I thought I should have looked up her name, but the character who played the older person that saved him, I thought, again, very interesting character and stuff like that. And again, they could have had all of the little information we got from those flashbacks could have been her saying, "Hey, do you remember when I saved you off that planet? You did, you were young and inexperienced. You made these mistakes, but you're smarter now. Don't make that mistake. What type of trouble are you in? I saved you from trouble then. I don't want to have to keep backing you up." All they had to do was say it. They didn't have to show it. And again, it's, I think it goes back to these guys. They need to study their source material. They need to go back and look at what makes Star Wars, and don't be afraid to do it / emulate it. They don't have to copy it. Like, we're not making another Luke Skywalker, and we're not telling that story again. However, there are ways in order to tell that story. And again, like, the original 6 movies, again, no flashbacks. It was always a vision of a potential future. And as Yoda said, hard to see the future is, so that's why you show that. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but he never went and showed those things in the past, like information we don't really need. So there's our kind of our threes, what we liked, what we didn't like, and what we would have changed. So now we're going to just kind of wrap this up. Do you guys recommend that people watch it? And what is your score out of 5? I'll give you guys a second to dwell on that. I will go first this time while you think. I do recommend people watch this. I think so far, these 3 episodes definitely better than the last couple outings, Boba Fett and Obi-Wan. So it definitely shows that they can learn from their mistakes, or that they are capable of putting something up. So I definitely think you should watch it. I would, though, recommend watching Rogue One first, so you kind of have an idea of why this looks the way it does and how it's shot the way it does. So obviously, if you're a Star Wars fan, you've probably already seen it. But if you haven't, watch Rogue One first. It's also on Disney Plus, and then jump in and watch these 3 episodes. And so far, I will say I would give it probably a 3 out of 5. And I'm giving it a 3 out of 5 because, again, visually it's stunning. So far, the acting's pretty good. But it's going to lose a couple points for me on kind of like plot and a little bit of the writing. I thought it could have been a little tighter. So Scott, I'll kick it to you. What do you recommend people check it out?
Yeah, it was a good watch. Again, getting into that, like at least these 3 episodes, the way they released it, you have a nice little arc. There's some slow points for sure, with the flashbacks. I think, as you said, visually stunning, fairly immersive, and again, it told at least there was a story there to tell. We'll see where it goes. I was going to say 3.5 for kind of the same reasons. Some of the writing, some of the flashback stuff, I think slowed it down a little bit, but definitely worth at least these 3 episodes to watch. We'll see where it goes.
Right on. Okay, Jesse, bring us home.
I was going to give it an A as a callback to our first Star Wars book club when you asked for a number.
I asked for a number.
I gave it an A. So,
well, I guess mathematically speaking, letters can be variables. They're numbers.
So with it being an A, I guess that's 80. So divide that by 2. I'm going to give it 4 out of 5. I like how it was Star Wars-y without being Star Wars-y. So many times we talk about, Ahsoka's shown up on Mandalorian and all this. Oh, we need to see Luke. We need to see a baby Yoda running around. This is completely fresh with a little bit of Star Wars mixed in. Like, I don't know if you guys noticed, but the guy's walking cane looked like a lightsaber.
Yeah.
And as he threw it out, it's like our silly lightsaber toys. You know how they have the extendo thing? Yeah. So it was like that. And I was like, okay, that's kind of Star Wars-y. It's kind of like a Star Wars toy. The droids, we got a little bit of Star Wars mixed in. I really enjoyed it. I didn't think I was going to like it, so maybe that's why I really liked it. Right? I thought I was going to pass on it, but yeah, it was good.
Very true. Very true. All right, well, folks, there you have it. We've got 3 recommendations and 3 pretty close scores. So here's the thing. Let us know what you think about Andor. If you've watched it, tell us in the comments what you liked, what you didn't like, maybe what you changed. But more importantly, do you want us to cover every episode as they come out? If you'd like us to do that, make sure you comment below and tell us. And if enough people do so, we will make it happen. So until we see you guys, make sure you stay true and may the force be with you. So thank you and have a great evening or whatever time of day you happen to be watching this. All right. Thank you very much.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye-bye.